Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and in today's video I am going to get carried. By who exactly remains to be seen, but for now let's focus on my gameplay, but we will be switching it up upon my death, which is fairly imminent in this round of World of Tanks. Okay, I'm playing the Tier 8 Italian auto-reloading medium tank, the Passante. I've been playing this vehicle a lot recently, as it is the new kind of flavour of auto-reloading mechanics with the compensation mechanic inside the game. And so it's a lot of fun for me to be playing. So I have got a lot of gameplay in this tank. I'm starting to get to grips with it, but I still feel like I'm learning. I feel like it's good. As you will have seen, I've talked about this tank a lot, especially in the dedicated videos on the vehicle, but more importantly on where I put it in the hot or not list, i.e. where I ranked every single Tier 8 premium vehicle. Let me talk specifically about this position. This position, I hate spawning west on West Field, and that is because from here I'm in a constant nervous nature of getting shot from tank destroyers that like to hide in this location down here. There can be any TDs in this location, and if you go up into a position where you want to shoot the vehicles on your left, which is really what you want to do with a tank with a good turret and gun depression like this, you've got to be oh so careful. I used to almost flamboyantly go up onto the ridgeline and just nonchalantly shoot everybody in the side of the turret, but trust me, it doesn't work well. But look how tempting it is. Look at this. Oh, I get to put one in, bounce the G-Saw once, put a second one into his turret, but unfortunately the G-Saw's gold round goes through me once. The IS-32 bounces off, but I put another round into the G-Saw, so I connect all 3 shells there, doing 1,000 damage. It's very decent damage, but the G-Saw isn't really the one that I was worried about. I was mostly worried about the Scorpion on the enemy team being down in this location, because they can hit you right in the side of the turret, and it's an absolute disaster when it happens, especially when they've got 500 alpha damage like on the Scorpion. So in this position, it's really, it's just one of those awkward moments where if there's no artillery, you can have an absolutely dream game, but as soon as there is artillery on this kind of map, it does start to feel very awkward playing these turreted vehicles. But there's nothing very awkward about this, and that is just getting 2 for free into a VK. And just like that, within the first 2 minutes of the game, we're up to 2,000 damage. And I was feeling pretty chipper. I was thinking, wow, this game's going good. Hopefully we can manage to get a little bit more. But yeah, slowly but surely the artillery are whittling down our hit points. It's not even slowly, actually, at this point. That Su-14 too seems to has it in for me, because in the first 2.5 minutes of this battle they fired at me 3 times, and seeing how the vehicle does have about a 40-second reload, yeah, that's pretty much permanently firing at me. Yeah, awkward. But at least if they're shooting at me, they're not shooting at all the vehicles over there, but those vehicles are losing all of their hit points, and so I'm starting to feel very nervous about this position. You'll see that there's the Progetto, there's the Standard B. It's amazing how many vehicles love to sit in that location, and it's definitely one of the things that's etched into my mind. I've been hit in the side of the turret so many times from that position. I'm very surprised this Liberté isn't getting hit there, but that's probably because I've been careful and I've been trying to engage the vehicles towards the southeast, so be incredibly careful from this side. You don't actually have to be that careful from the other side, because the enemy seem to have protection with the way that the ridge is kind of, it's more prominent along here, which means that when they come up over, that they're not often getting shot in the side by the Scorpion. Okay, so it's looking like, with my heavy tanks falling and my Lerva wanting to camp in the back and roleplay a tank destroyer, that this position is forfeit. So I'm going to try and turn it around and try to get hull down against them by using this ridge up here. There's an IS-3 too who's going to be coming after me, and oh dear, I'm just in a bit of a tricky situation. I feel like my demise is imminent. I hit one shell into some weird post there. We put the second one into the side of the IS-3. It fails to be able to penetrate him, and he actually manages to find a shot into, I guess, my lower plate, or even possibly into my cheek armor from that location. I wasn't really side-scraping very well. Definitely not my best round of World of Tanks. And at this stage, I think I was actually over commentating on the fact that the south of this map had not pushed fast enough, and I was really concerned as to what was going on there. So why don't we check out some gameplay from the Bourrasque on my team, whose name is Fat Viking. And trust me, Fat Viking is going to play a bit like a Fat Viking. Well, Not so much a Fat Viking, but just an absolutely brutal Viking in this game. Anyway, spoilers. We'll be following him later on. Just to show you where I was. So I'm playing in the Basante, but you're unable to see me. But I was up in that location. Unfortunately, the render distance in World of Tanks, 564 meters, so we can't manage to actually see what I was getting up to. But you just saw it, so why would you even need to? I'm using the anonymizer, so my name was SoCole950 in this game. And Fat Viking was actually using the anonymizer too, which is why I waited to say what their name was until I switched over, because they had a very funny name from the get-go from my display. Okay, so I'm really interested in watching this game, and it also taught me to kind of just relax a little bit about, should we say, the competence, or it reinvigorated my competence, or my faith in the competence of my teammates on this flank. Because we're actually going to see that Fat Viking is going to have really tried his best to win this flank, and he was not to blame for the lack of progress we made in the south, while the enemy seemed to get like an overwhelming advantage on us on the north. I don't think it's down to the fact that the enemies just had more tanks on the north. I think it was just because they played better than us. So, Fat Viking is playing in the Bourrasque, a tank that a lot of people have been playing recently because it's been included in the loot boxes, and if you're so lucky as to gamble inside them and manage to get yourself a Bourrasque, yeah, you would have found out in my video a few days ago that this vehicle is definitely up into the pay-to-win bracket of premium tanks. I'd say it's one of the top 5 premium tanks at tier 8 in the game, because it just has this amazing double tap gun. It has a 105mm gun with 360 alpha damage with 2 seconds intra-clip reload, meaning that it can burst out 720 within 2 seconds of the first shot. So that's just absolutely outrageous. And while it doesn't have the best accuracy and it doesn't have the best penetration, when you're able to do things like, well, I was about to say, when you're able to do things like this, yeah, when you're going to be able to do the things that Fat Viking is able to display, not right now, but imminently in this game, it is absolutely monstrous, this vehicle, and that is why it's packing, I think, the best win ratio on any freely available medium tank. Now, I personally think in the hands of an exceptional player, while the Bourrasque is an incredible tool, I still think you're going to probably, all in all, do better in the Progetto, but only in situations where you have to just use the raw firepower of the vehicle, and it's just a constant engagement, rather than the Bourrasque, which I think is going to be far better in these kind of situations, where you have to be sneaky. A lot of people seem to be able to make the Bourrasque work exceptionally well. That's why it's getting this very good average win ratio. There is should we say, a significant minority of players who I think are playing the Progetto exceptionally badly and just expecting that you can just roll into position and still do well in the vehicle. And I think those players would have actually probably done better in the Bourrasque. I think the Bourrasque, with its great camo and its faster burst damage, is probably going to do better than what the Progetto would do in the hands of a unknowledgeable player. It's a funny one trying to compare the two vehicles, and I should probably stop trying to focus on it immediately in this game and focus on the gameplay at hand. And that is that Fat Viking is under some significant pressure. He had to battle off the Lanson, he had to try and battle off the AMX on the enemy team, who seems to have actually come into this position. That's a very aggressive position to have an AMX in this scenario. And he's trying to spot them out, he's trying to find where they are, and he's now got his standard B, who's finally decided to push forwards. Really, this tier 9 medium tank should have made more aggressive plays earlier on in this battle, because do you notice that their medium tanks were actually over towards this location, managing to put pressure up towards the north, and that was truly horrific for us, because that crossfire they were able to get into the side of the turret really held us back. So you've always got to be thinking in World of Tanks, when you have these kind of long-winded games, or games that actually aren't long-winded, that you have to make your moves imminently in them. So there's the AMX 1390 on the enemy team, and Fat Viking shuts them down. Perfect, and now he's going to move for the Lanson as well. Do you know what's really bizarre for me is that Fat Viking barely zooms in. I guess he just feels very comfortable. Maybe he's got a gigantic monitor, or maybe his eyes are much better than mine, and he doesn't have to zoom in so far to be able to, I guess, have faith in the shells. It's really something interesting that I see Fat Viking doing, and it's probably something that I'm going to be talking about later on when he's actually sniping at much larger distances, as to why he never really goes in past the zoom. Like right now, I'd be in at least 2 times, if not 8 times zoom, aiming at the TVP at this 200-meter distance. But Fat Viking feels very comfortable using the 2 times zoom here. Alright, so I think in this scenario, Fat Viking probably should have tried to commit to go down that northern flank, but I understand that he also wants to play a little bit carefully here because he sees that the enemy team are going to be waltzing in towards the base. Yeah, nobody ever suggested that the Bourrasque was going to be an accurate tank. Oh, yeah. Or have very good aim time at decent distances, or even good penetration. Fat Viking is trying to compensate by loading the gold here, which has 240 millimeters of penetration, and will definitely give you a much better chance at the heavy tanks on the enemy team. So now that I have fallen in the battle, you can see my wreck up towards the north in the town, and the enemy are waltzing down towards the west. This is where the Bourrasque could be pretty good. Well, we found out that Fat Viking definitely does have access to the 8x zoom, as everybody does in World of Tanks, but he's not going to use the 16 or even... He's not going to use the 16, or is there even a 32x zoom inside this game? I think there is, or am I making that up? No, there's a 25x zoom, not a 32x zoom. That would make too much sense for it to go 8, 16, 32. Right, no, 25 zoom. 32 would be absolutely outrageous. And Fat Viking, even at this kind of distance at 500 meters, will only use the 8x zoom. But I guess it kind of makes sense. I played the first many years of World of Tanks just with 8x zoom. But I have to admit, when the opportunity to have the 16 and the 25x zoom came in, it definitely allowed me to be more accurate in those kind of situations. Did you see how Fat Viking's reticle was actually... should we say, going up and down very quickly there to try and find the shot on the AMX? I think if he was using the 16x zoom, he might have been able to make greater effect. I know I'm kind of warbling on about this, but it's just something really interesting for me. It's really stark because I've never seen somebody who I would consider to be a very good player like Fat Viking clearly is, to actually only use 4x zoom at this kind of distance. It's bizarre. Anyway, let's focus on the combat instead. Fat Viking is using these bushes incredibly well. He's managing to pull back behind them, shoot the Basante without being spotted through them, and he knows that the Standard B is going to be making the play towards the east. Clearly the AMX 65T has managed to go in towards the cap circle, and this game is starting to get really ugly because there are 9 tanks left on the enemy team. Make that 8, and there are only 3 tanks left on Fat Viking's team. Well, actually, make that 7. So 7 vehicles left on the enemy team, and Fat Viking with 3, make that 2. Man, this game is developing very quickly indeed at this kind of halfway point as we've reached the 7.5 minutes into the game of a 15-minute battle. So Fat Viking has got to be really worried about that G-Saw. That G-Saw, if he manages to connect all of their shells into a Bourrasque, which is a very easy thing to do because this thing is very lightly armored, we'll be able to take it out within 6 seconds of the first shot. So Fat Viking's going to aim for the Lansen, secure his 4th kill of the game. And is he going to reload or is he going to progress here? It looks like he's actually going to go at the Standard B now, which I think is the right play. He has to shut down this Standard B, but if he manages to have some bad RNG here, it's going to be a disaster. So Fat Viking shows some, really poor pressured aim there. I'm not going to lie, buddy, that was poor. But luckily, your Standard B backed you up. If the Standard B had died there, that would have been incredibly awkward, and this would not have been a keep calm and carry QuickyBaby moment. This would have been a QuickyBaby was right about those dastardly players towards the southern flank who didn't manage to win and carry him in this battle, right? I digress. Let's focus once again. Catch a breath as the Standard B and Fat Viking now turns their attention towards the G-Saw and also the AMX 65T. So Fat Viking focuses on interrupting the G-Saw with a clutch shot towards the top of the turret, which secures a large amount of decapping. And he also confirms the kill on the AMX 65T as well with the final remaining premium round in his tank. But luckily now, nobody has any armor on the enemy team, so that's not such a big deal. So Fat Viking, I think you should have made better use of your standard rounds in this vehicle if there had been any heavily armored targets left. As you know, the penetration on this gun's very poor. But Fat Viking, oh no, pressure shot over on the Scorpion, now has to advance towards it. Will he lose the 500 hit points from the Scorpion? No. Will the G-Sol be able to connect into him? No. And now Fat Viking has changed what was a 1 versus 5 scenario in the Bourrasque into a 1 versus 3 scenario with the G-Saw low on hit points and 2 artillery left on the enemy team. The Standard B on the team is giving him some kind of amazing pep talk right now. Listen to this, the Standard B. I think they're all one shot for you. What does he say next? Good luck. Whoa, calm down. Nice, just calm down. You got this. He won. He have that. Oh, I'm really happy that the Standard B is getting into this game and, you know, giving that like positive backseat gaming. Usually backseat gaming is something that has such a stigma attached, right? It's somebody being an armchair general going, yeah, well, I think you should do this quickly, and it's very easy to do that with hindsight. I'm guilty of that. I guess I am I'm an armchair general for a living on the internet, right? but even I can say that sometimes it's useful. Oh gosh, can't go there, can't justify it. What I'm trying to suggest is that I really like seeing players get into it and just have that kind of positive vibe and really supporting each other. I would have also liked that standard B to have maybe got stuck into this game a little bit earlier. I don't think this game would have required such a big carry from Fat Viking here. But whether it's going to be a bit of a heartbreak or not remains to be seen. He's still got to deal with the G-Saw and 2 self-propelled guns. Wow, look at this, the standard B. Hey, he won that. Hey, he just pushed tree. Wow, looks like that standard B is really into this. Saying that the G-Saw just knocked down a tree. So the G-Saw is clearly not in the cap circle. There's the G-Saw. Will the G-Saw be able to spot him? Doesn't look like that G-Saw. Maybe set their vehicle up correctly. Maybe they weren't using coated optics on that tank. Maybe they weren't interested in spotting for themselves. And Fat Viking is going to take advantage of that by shutting down the new Tier 8 turreted British tank destroyer. Okay, even the artillery is still watching this. Look, there's at least 3 people still watching this, and I think there's going to be at least probably 100,000 more who have watched this probably by in the next week or in the next month or so on this channel as well. Fat Viking, we're all cheering you on. Plus rep, yeah, exactly, yeah, plus rep. Do you know what plus rep, unironically, is something that Wargaming should totally put inside World of Tanks? You can right-click people, although I can't because this is a replay. But you can right-click people and you can report them. You can basically condemn toxicity in the game, which I do. Why can't we give people rep and some kind of little bonus? Maybe they can get a tiny bit of experience for the most repped player on the team. Something like that would be really fun. Some kind of positive reinforcement that I think this community definitely needs. Alrighty then, even the CS-53 is still watching this. So, Fat Viking spots the Su-14-2, and luckily for him, he's actually low on hit points. He's already been hit earlier on in this battle. So that means that Fat Viking is able to secure the kill. Now Fat Viking reloads, spots the 212A on 460 hit points, and that was definitely the right idea to reload because he would have never been able to kill that with a single shot with the 360, unless he was firing HE. But now this is a very awkward scenario. This is a big boy self-propelled gun who's policed by Rommel on the enemy team. Yeah, with 1,000 hit points, this could be very ugly with the amount of armor that the Bourrasque has. He comes around the corner, puts one in, the 212A. That was a little close for comfort. The standard B says, OMG! Fat Viking says, lol. As he secures the Kolobanov's medal for standing alone against at least 5 opponents. But, yeah, just for a second. Oh, make myself smaller there. Yeah. Oh, no, my finger needs to be slightly bigger. If I go like this, look at the hit points that Fat Viking is on. He's on 47 hit points after a penetrating shell from the enemy self-propelled gun, which did 973 damage. To put that into perspective, the top gun on the 212A actually has 1,050 alpha, which means that Fat Viking was actually incredibly lucky that this was not a heartbreak. And with all due respect, you handled the situation very poorly at the end for a player who clearly knows what they're doing. But the nerves would have probably got to me too. I would have probably underestimated the enemy artillery. He's not going to penetrate me. He's not going to do 1,000 damage. That would have been a very different kind of video if that had not been a low roll. So after I died in this battle, I kind of written my team off. I left and I went to go and play another one. The reason why I do that is because I end up getting incredibly frustrated just watching what I thought was going to be an inevitable defeat, as the southern flank was going to be overwhelmed and crushed. I do recommend that you actually leave a battle if you're dead and you think that your team is going to lose, because I don't know about you, but for me, I sit there and I have all of the information at my disposal. I don't have to focus on the little things like driving, aiming, shooting, predicting, all of this. And it's so easy when you have the entire battlefield and you just get to focus on, should we say, the meta of it or the macro, to sit there and make good decisions. And you expect that all the players that you're watching are going to have all of the information that you have as well, and they're going to make correct decisions as well. But no, they're focusing on the micro. They don't have all of the time to be able to spend on the macro. And so more often than not, you're going to get frustrated because it seems so easy for you as an armchair general, right? But it's definitely not when you're actually playing the game. And so later on, when I checked that we'd actually won the battle, I went, you what? There's no way we won that battle, right? What actually happened? And even though I did manage to finish second on experience, even though I was one of the first ones to die, I knew that something absolutely heroic would have had to have happened for this battle to have been won. And yeah, enter Fat Viking. He gets his second mark of excellence in the Bat Chatillon Bourrasque. a Pascucci's for narrowly killing those 2 self-propelled guns, a Radley Walters medal for the 9 kills that they picked up, the Kolobanos medal, the one that everybody wants for standing alone against at least 5, and a Leveslaio's medal for dealing with higher tier tanks. In a medium, a Defender medal as well for protecting the cap circle for at least 70 points, a tank sniper for dealing most of that damage at long range, and a high caliber for the 4,300 damage dealt. We'll talk about getting pretty much every single battle hero in the game to be able to carry me in this one, Fat Viking. And of course, as it is a premium tank, it looks like it was running a credit booster, also with the Advent event that's going on. Still makes 153,000 credits, even with an extortionate amount of premium round fired. Which is why I guess everybody's quite happy to sling the gold in a vehicle like this, which is kind of meant to be balanced out around its penetration value. That definitely makes it massively better at tier 8. So Fat Viking, what is there to say? Thank you so much for keeping calm and carrying me in this battle. I contacted Fat Viking immediately after and was like, oh my word, how did you do this? Please send me the replay. And thank you so much for obliging Fat Viking. And I've got a lot to learn from this game. If there's one thing that I want to conclude on, that is that sometimes you shouldn't jump to conclusions. I thought that the whole of my southern flank even was useless, that they were passive, that they hadn't played the battle correctly, and that's why we were unable to win, as I was getting killed up towards the northern flank. In retrospect, while I do feel that maybe if Fat Viking had had the standard B help him a little bit more aggressively, I think they could have pushed through. But all in all, after reviewing it, I think that Fat Viking played with the care and precision that you need in a vehicle like the Bourrasque. And congratulations to you for a fantastic game. I hardly ever see anybody get a Kolobanov's medal in my battle, and it was a pleasure to see you smash this one through. And yeah, my service record and my win ratio appreciates it too, bud. Thanks. So, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know what you think about watching the battle after you're dead. Do you just try and get out of there as quickly as you can because you're going to be frustrated? Or do you think that it's quite fun to sit there and actually see how the battle would have resulted anyway? And you are tilt-proof. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.